Hey, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the Michigan Basketball Postgame Live Show. I am Dennis Fithian, and we're ready to get this one underway. Didn't go Michigan's way down in Charlotte in the Jumpman Invitational. Ended up going down by 4 in the end, late 3. Made it different if you were playing Michigan plus 4.5, plus 5, obviously. But in the end, it's a loss for the Wolverines against the Tar Heels tonight. And we're ready to talk about it. We're on after every Michigan basketball and football game, so not a surprise that we're here tonight. Shouldn't be a surprise to you if you're ever looking for some a live talk after a Michigan game. We're here for you. And then, of course, it's there in podcast form and in video form as well. You can always leave your feedback. If you had some thoughts, I also throw it up on Twitter Spaces. You can call in or listen that way. So a variety of ways for you to get involved, for you to listen, all of that here on the Maize and Blue Review. Well, this game, as you take a look at it, this was one where, let's put my notepad up during the game. Michigan loses this one by 4, but they were down by 7 at the half. This was a very physical game. Maybe we should have predicted that when you got a guy like Armando Baycott, the big man for the Tar Heels, and Hunter Dickinson. These are two guys that play physical, that go to the basket. They look for contact, and they were both mixing it up. And Dickinson, with the early blow, had an elbow to Baycott's chin that should have been reviewed and should have been a technical on Hunter Dickinson. It wasn't called. Hubert Davis was going crazy. A little bit after that, Baycott put his backside, I don't know, it might be his whole side, into a Buffkin, real body blow and kind of body check that sent Buffkin to the floor. And then underneath the basket, a little bit after that, you had, some guys getting a little bit face to face. And then the refs got involved, started teeing guys up. Hunter Dickinson got a foul. Wanda Baycott got a foul. Love got a technical. Dickinson with the technical. McDaniel with a technical. And then after that, the Tar Heels responded. They went on after that, whatever you want to call it, dust up or technical fest by the officials. The Tar Heels responded. They went on a 13-4 run to end the half, and they were up by 7, 41-34. Michigan had Jed Howard and Kobe Buffkin each with 10 at the break. Hunter Dickinson just 1 of 5 with 2 points at the half. That stood out. You get into the second half of the first minute of the game, Baycott draws a foul on Dickinson. So Hunter picking up his third within the first minute of the second half. That seemed to be key. And then, Michigan did get within 3 just a couple minutes into the second half. But as things went, they wouldn't get that close until late in the game. They got within 4 a couple times, but they couldn't get closer. But then they did late with just over 3 minutes to go. Terrence Williams II, who really hadn't supplied much all game long, he hit a 3 and got Michigan within a couple points there, down 3 with 2 minutes to go. And then Buffkin hit a 2 with a minute to go and, made it a 2-point game. But then the biggest play of this game ended up being under a minute to go. Michigan was scrambling around on defense, and the Tar Heels' R.J. Davis went in from the left side with a right-hand floater and put it in, I think, off the glass. And that put the Tar Heels up by 4. Terrence Williams II tried to duplicate that 3 from the top side again. He was not able to. North Carolina came down. Caleb Love got fouled. He knocked in his free throws, put Tar Heels up by 6, and they hang on. Michigan got that late 3, and Michigan loses the game by 4, 80-76, and the Wolverines fall to 7-4. Now that's the way it went down. Now you'll watch this game. Did Michigan play its best game of the year? No, they didn't. I think that you point to the scoring droughts. There was, 6-7 minute scoring drought in the second half. And then you point to the way that North Carolina closed the second half after all those tees were called. And Michigan, they didn't have a very good stretch on either side of the floor. They weren't guarding well, and then they weren't scoring. And obviously, a bad combination. That's how it ends up being 13-4. So they'll want to take a look at that, and then just the overall scoring drought. I think the frustrating thing, if you're a Michigan fan, is that they had some shots in this game to to get it a little bit closer, but every time they inched and had it where they were down 4, they weren't able to make some key plays there to put the pressure on Carolina. And all of Michigan's losses this year, when you go back and look at them, they're now what I say 7-4. Besides that Arizona State game, they got run off the floor, and nobody played well, and that was one of the worst games that they've ever played. Certainly, they played under Juwan Howard. It wasn't a good game at all. But you think about the Virginia loss. That was Michigan played well, and they were right there. That's a top 5 team in Virginia. They played Kentucky pretty close. That was a 1-possession game late as well. And then in this one, they could have played better in this one, but I think the scoring drought, they got to play better defense, and they got to shoot better. Jett Howard's pretty good. I like Kobe Buffkin has stepped up. He was one that we all looked at and said Michigan's got to get a little bit more from their backcourt, and Buffkin is he stepped it up a little bit. But besides Dickinson and Jett Howard, you see Doug McDaniel. They got to rely on Doug McDaniel to score. He's a Jet, He reminds me of watching North Carolina tonight. North Carolina had a guard not so long ago. He was on their championship team that played at Ford Field and beat Michigan State. You may remember Ty Lawson. He was a under 6 feet, 5'10", 5'11" point guard. He was a little bit bigger physically than Doug McDaniel, but still fast as all get out and can score even at the side. And you see a little bit of that from Doug McDaniel. They're going to need him. Not much from the bench tonight for Michigan. That's something that stands out. In fact, let's look at some of those numbers from the Wolverines tonight, led by Kobe Buffkin, who had 22 points, 3 boards, and an assist, 7 of 10 from the floor, and 2 of 3 from downtown for Buffkin, who was 6 of 7 from the charity stripe. That's good. Jett Howard had 10 at the break, and 17 points, 3 boards, 2 of 6. Not a bad stat line. I always want a little bit more from Jett Howard. He's so talented. You need him, I think, even to get more than that. And then Hunter Dickinson, you're going to have more from big Hunter Dickinson. Just 9 points in his battle with Armando Bacot. 3 of 9 from the floor from Dickinson. 9 points, 8 boards. He knows that he needs to do better than that if Michigan's going to win some ball games. The rest of the team, Terrence Williams II, you didn't get much from him. He did hit that late 3, had a chance to duplicate that late to pull Michigan within 1. Didn't happen. Did a nice job on the glass, TW2. But you'd like to see a little bit more scoring, more consistency from Terrence Williams that way. Doug McDaniel had some early points in this one, and, not where you're going to say he had an A+ game or even a B game, or maybe a C game. He's what are you going to say? He's a freshman. What was this, his 3rd game that he started? And he's got a lot on his plate. At times you look at him and you say he can handle it. Other times, there's going to be some dips and some ups and downs. When you're talking about Doug McDaniel, 7 points, 2 boards, and 5 assists for Doug. The bench, not much there. Joey Baker came in, and he did hit 2 threes. He had a nice catch and shoot. I always want more from Joey Buckets. He looks good out there. His form is good. He's an athletic enough guy, but you need a little bit more from the bench. Terrace Reed Jr. is an interesting player. He's got moves. If the game slows a little bit, he had a couple tough calls on him. He's so big, and he's if he gets that speed of the game down, I think that even in the Big Ten season, you get midway through the Big Ten season, I think you're going to see more of Reed being a factor. He's got a low post game and he can rebound with anybody and he's athletic. I like Reed, what I've seen from him. I even like to see him a little bit more, but he's the game's just a tick, not always a little bit fast for him, just in some regards, like when he's putting the ball out on the floor or putting it on the floor. I'm sorry. And then but when he is got his back to the basket like an old school player, you throw the ball down to him. He's got a series of moves. He made his best move of the years against North Carolina in the first half when he was down on the right block and he threw a shimmy and a shake and turned and scored the bucket. That was very encouraging what you saw from him, but not much else from the Michigan bench. Cheddar was out there, Jace was out there, and then that was it. So you're going to want more, and you're going to need more from Michigan when it comes down to their bench play. As far as what's coming up next here for this crew, that's not what's going to be next. It is going to be this. Let's get to that upcoming schedule. That's brought to you by the Maize and Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football, which you can hear. Michigan football and basketball, 1 o'clock weekdays right here on this channel that you're watching or listening to right now. And here is that upcoming schedule. I'll put it up on the screen. Michigan is now done until a week from Friday. So this is a nice break here for the Wolverines. They will host Central Michigan coming up on the 30th to close out the year, and then they'll be done. And then they come back and they start knocking them down here. This break that they have right here, this is the Christmas break for them because they come back. They start out New Year's Day. They'll be taking on Maryland to get it going. I was typing out 2023. There you go. 1-1-23. It looks strange. First time that I did that, but here's the series of games. They start out the Big Ten slate, Maryland and Penn State at home, and then they'll be January 7th. That's, as we talk, right around the corner. They'll be up in East Lansing taking on Michigan State. So you'll want to watch all of them, circle all of them to watch it, but obviously you're going to be circling and watching that game against Michigan State. That'll be one where everybody will be have their eyes peeled. And we'll be looking forward to that, especially Hunter Dickinson and people like from Michigan State. They're all over Hunter Dickinson. They'll be ready for Hunter Dickinson up in East Lansing, but he's responded to that challenge before. See if he's able to do it again. Michigan falls in this one by 4, and they fall to 7-4 on the season. Looking for some more consistency, looking for some better outside shooting, and looking for some better play on both ends of the floor. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, wow, that's all? You want better play on both sides of the floor and more consistency and better shooting? Yeah, throw in, more tough-minded defense, and I think you're going to get something then. They've played, I think the glass half full look is that they have played, with the exception of that Arizona State game, they have played these tough teams pretty close where, they're not so far away from, they execute on both sides a little bit. You could talk about, winning a couple of those games, and they're going to have to make up some of those, and they want to, win on the road in the Big Ten, which is so difficult. And they're going to have to get better. I think we all know that. Where you look at it, you say, yeah, with these couple losses that they have now, and now they're getting into the Big Ten, this is going to be tough to make the tournament. And, I would agree with that. It is going to be tough when you start saying that you got to be certainly one of the top 6 teams in the conference, and you start looking, from Indiana, Illinois, Purdue, and you start going through all of the teams that are in the Big Ten. Michigan, they're going to have their work cut out for them to be one of the top half teams in the Big Ten, and they got to be able to be one of the top half teams in the Big Ten if they want to get into the NCAA tournament, and that is the goal for this team. So that's what we'll be watching for. That's what we'll be looking for, and we'll see it again coming up on December the 30th against Central. I want to thank everybody that was listening on Spaces, and we're always here for you whether you think you're watching Michigan, you're like, man, this was a great game, or this was a game that I want to make some points on. You know that we will be here if we're not there like immediately right after the game. We'll be there within a minute or two. I'm just putting some things together, like how you might be typing in the score or whatever else, getting the box score up, getting it locked and loaded and ready to go. But we're usually here pretty quick for you after the games. And we'll also be there, if I remember, and I have every time so far, on Twitter Spaces. 80-76 to final. Michigan falls to 7-4 on the year, and they'll take their Christmas break. And they will host Central coming up on December the 30th, their last game of 2022. And then they'll be right back at it, starting out the new year, hosting Maryland. Thanks for watching. And if you're a football or basketball fan, I'll talk with you at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Until then, everybody have a great night. Be safe.